You finally finished your book, then hit publish and waited for the sales to roll in, but nothing happened. Well, don't worry, it's not the end of your KDP journey, it's just the part that most people never talk about. In today's video, we're going to look at real examples of what makes or breaks a book listing on Amazon. I'm going to show you why some books take off while others disappear, and what you can do right now to turn things around. Alright, so let's get right into this video. And just quickly, in case you're new to this channel, Cleo and I have sold over 240,000 books between our different KDP accounts. And we have a free authors Facebook group with over 230,000 authors in it. And then with our self-publishing Titans tools, we've helped over 300,000 authors publish their books on Amazon. So just a quick thing about us. And let's look at this first book here. So with the self-publishing Titans Chrome extension, we can see that this book has never gotten a single sale because there is no bestseller rank. So we'll start by looking at the title. And before we even start reading it, I can tell you that this title is way too long. So a title and a subtitle ideally should never be longer than 2 lines. Otherwise, it can really become spammy, keyword stuffed, and even complicated for the search algorithm to understand, and also potentially hurt your click-through rates. So the first thing I would say is definitely make the title shorter. But now let's look at the words here. So the title says, "My First Time Learning Emotions and Manners Kids Activity Book." So really, really long title, kind of longer than the average title. So I would also say that this is a little bit too long and should be reduced. But then the next problem here is that we don't have an exact match keywords that people are actually searching for on Amazon. First time learning emotions is a nice idea, but there's not really many people looking for this kind of book on Amazon. The only way this would get sales is by making social media content on TikTok, on Instagram, Pinterest, and all the other platforms, because the search volume on Amazon wouldn't be the highest. The other way to get sales would be to do Amazon ads and targeting ASINs on Amazon for potentially similar products that you think might convert for your book. But otherwise, we don't have a high volume, low competition keyword in the title. So that's the next thing. Now the subtitle says, "A fun children's book to help recognize, understand, and express emotions ages 3 to 5. And then hard skills. So the idea of the book sounds nice, but I'm also wondering how many mothers or parents would be looking for a book to teach a 3-year-old child emotions and manners. I could be wrong, but I feel like that market would be kind of really small. So I'm just going to show you some of the keywords that people are looking for just so we can get a comparison. So this is the self-publishing Titans Chrome extension. And in case you're not familiar with that, you can go to the Google Chrome store and just type in self-publishing Titans and then install the bottom one right here. And this is the brand new extension which replaced the 2 prior old ones. And this one has the Titans AI installed into it and is getting all the new upgrades and features added. So only this one here. And then here we can see all of the Amazon search suggestions. We can see the monthly estimated search volume. We can see the amount of competitors or search results that each of these keywords has. And then the demand score and an opportunity score. So what I would suggest you do is look at these kind of keywords to see what people are searching for. And you'll find lots and lots of keywords. And maybe you can find a nice long tail keywords that has a good search volume but low competition. And then I think that would be a much better keywords to target than what we currently have here. So moving along, let's look at the cover. So it says, "My first time learning emotions and manners," and so basically the full title. And my feedback on the cover is that overall it's kind of okay, but there's definitely some missed opportunities and things we can change and improve. One is that this cover doesn't look like an activity book, and activity books should always kind of represent what kind of activities it is and what kind of book it is. And this kind of book, just by the looks of it, feels like it's more of a guidebook or how-to book or something like that. So that would be my first feedback. And my second feedback here is that I'm not the biggest fan of this font here. I think it would look nicer having more of a consistency because we already have 2 different fonts right here, and having a third one is usually not the nicest thing. And I don't think this font fits the best with these other ones. So I'd probably adjust that font, especially because this is all caps and here it looks like lowercase. So it's also not just matching with the theme. My next point here is that even though this is about emotions and manners, I'm not the biggest fan of having a sad face or an angry face here or a sad face here. I'm guessing that this book is about having happy kids and good manners, and the end result of that would obviously kids smiling. So instead of having 4 kind of bad emotions and only one happy one, I would probably show happy kids for all of them, just to show the end result and the promise from this book. And I also wouldn't have a sad face here, but that'll be my preference. And then the next missed opportunity here, which is a big point actually, is that we don't show any of the activities of the book on the back cover. So when it comes to low content books and medium content books like puzzle books and activity books and coloring books, you always 100% of the time want to have example pages on the back cover to show what the book interior is like, so a potential buyer can see whether or not they would like this book or not. So not having that can really hurt your conversion rates and obviously affect your sales. So I would definitely fix that. Now looking at the description here, I like that you have bullet points here and you also have the correct amount. 5 is kind of the sweet spot. The one thing I can tell you is that some of your bullet points are way too long, and a bullet point should always be short, which is part of the reason why it's a bullet point. So all the ones that are longer than one line, I would figure out how you can reword that or take some words out so they're shorter. And I think that'll be a much better experience. What I do see here that you did right and well is having a call to action at the end of your description. The only thing I would do is just add a space between this paragraph and your last line. But otherwise, well done for thinking of that, which is great. So moving along, let's look at your A+ content. Okay, so I don't see any A+ content yet, but obviously this book was only published a few days ago. So most likely Amazon has not made it live yet. But just in case you haven't done any A+ content, I would highly encourage you to do that. And any A+ content, you should have lifestyle images of kids with the book or parents with the book. You can also show more interior pages so they can see the activities and the things inside of your book, just to show the best parts of your book and further convince somebody to want to buy your book. So that'll definitely be a nice improvement. Here we have the author image, which is good, and then some text. So well done on having that section filled out, and then we don't have any reviews. So the other thing I would say is look for a advanced reader copy service. You can look at the one from Self-Publishing Titans and get your first couple of reviews, or use any other alternative, just whatever you find is most suitable for your needs, and then just go with that. So that would be my feedback for you. I wish you the best of luck, and let's go right into the next one. So here we have a book that has a bestseller rank of 1 million and currently is getting no royalties and no sales. So let's see what's going on with this book. So for here, the first thing I just want to talk about is the cover, just because it stood out, and unfortunately not all in the best way. Birds, blooms, and insects covering this image here kind of makes it a little bit hard to read, especially when you have to think about a person shopping on the Amazon mobile app. So on a smaller screen, this will definitely blend in more, so it's harder to see. But even besides that, it's just not the nicest and most professional looking cover. So this is definitely not the best execution. The text just looks too flat on the image, has no dimension to it or depth to it, and it just takes away from the design and kind of feels a little bit like an afterthought. So I would figure out how to change that. And maybe one way of doing that is just deleting the entire flower here. You can do that with the Canva Magic Erase tool or any other tool that you know of. And then I think that would look much better already, just because you can see the text. It will look cleaner and more professional. But the other thing here is this doesn't look like a coloring book to me. So you might still struggle with getting click-through rates and conversion rates because this is a nice image, but it doesn't scream coloring book. So the other thing that I would do is also make sure that the word coloring book is really big, because that is the most important keyword on your cover. So whatever the most important keyword is should be really visible, and most often either the largest or at least the same size as the other large text and not smaller. So that is my tip for your cover. Looking at the back here, you did a great job for showing the coloring pages, and this page looks nice. I like the shadows, I like the positioning of it. So definitely a great job here. So now let's look at your title and subtitle, which says Birds, Blooms, and Insects. So overall, it's kind of okay, but for a coloring book, it definitely feels like a missed opportunity, because in the title, you could already have a nice long tail keywords in it that people are searching for on Amazon. This is more a kind of title that could be for a high content book where you don't have to have keywords in it. So for low content books and medium content books, most cases it is okay to have a keyword in the title, and most often also beneficial, because people will obviously read the title first. And if the title already explains what the book is about and is exactly what they're looking for, you just have much better chances of getting a good click-through rate. So that would be my feedback here. Now next, I noticed that you didn't capitalize any of these letters, which is inconsistent with your main title. So that's also not the best practice, and it definitely won't help you get more clicks or anything. And it will actually be the opposite, where you get less clicks and less purchases just because it feels less consistent, less professional, and not really proper. So, but let's continue reading this. So it says a coloring book, 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So that's also a bit odd having inches twice. So definitely doesn't sound professional. Usually you would say 8.5 by 11 inches, if anything, and not having inches here. And then here it says 50 coloring pages, so it's also a little bit of a wasted space. So one example of an improvement without doing any research could have been a bird's coloring book. And then the subtitle could say 50 coloring pages, activity book, 8.5 by 11 inches. I'm not saying this is the perfect title, I'm just rewording it just to show a better sequence and better utilization of the keywords, just for potentially better rankings on Amazon. But then the next thing is you also want to use the Chrome extension to see what people are searching for. So insects coloring book or blooms or birds could be fine altogether, but what is the main keyword that we're trying to target? And then that should be the focus. So looking at your description, we have one, which is good. The only problem here is that there's no beginning really to this. It's just one fat paragraph. So ideally we have a nice starting line that kind of introduces the description for the book. And then right after that, we would have 5 bullet points. And those would be bullet points of the 5 most important things about your book. So if you were to try to sell your book to a stranger on the streets, what would be the first 5 things that you would tell them? And then that should be your bullet points. And then obviously at the end, you also want to have a call to action for someone to buy the book now. And that's just a simple touch that can't hurt. So we also don't have any A+ content here, and this was published in October. So by now this should be live already. So I would highly encourage you to have A+ content. Here you can demonstrate all of your coloring pages. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them, just to show the high quality book that you made with all the effort that you poured into this, and really make sure that people want to buy this book after seeing those pages. So looking at the categories here, those are really important because Amazon does use them as part of the search algorithm and understanding what your book is about. So you always want to have the most relevant categories that apply for your book so you don't confuse the search algorithm. So the first one is activity books. That's kind of okay. Then we have flowers, landscapes, coloring book for grown-ups. So that's a good one. And then animal coloring books for grown-ups. So overall, that is good. Activity books is okay. But since this is a coloring book, I would probably be more inclined to use a coloring book category, just because activity books are not always coloring books. Obviously, a coloring book can be a type of activity, but I think having coloring books in all 3 would be slightly beneficial. That'll be my feedback here. And then here we can see a author profile picture, but the text here is a little bit small, especially if you were to be on a phone. So I would probably change that or make it bold and a normal font so it's easier to read, because like this, I can't clearly read what this says. So that can definitely be improved, and maybe even add some color in it since we're doing coloring books. I think this could be slightly more fun. And then here we don't have a description. So you did the first thing right, which was adding an image, but then we're missing a description. So we definitely want to add that just to complete that section. And then we also don't have any reviews yet. So definitely want to fix that. So for all the people that are new here, we also have free resources and tools and training. So if you're interested in that, you can go to selfpublishingtitans.com/free. And in here, you can click on resources, the tools and training, and just take full advantage of all of those. And otherwise, if you're new to this channel and want me to also review your book for free, I would love to help you. And in that case, you can go to selfpublishingtitans.com/review and then submit your book to me right here. And then I would love to help you in a future video. All right, so that's it for today. I make these videos every single day, so make sure to subscribe and come back tomorrow for more free training. All right, bye.